Okay, the other day there was a live, and it was with Travis and Chad from Perpetual Projects and Square Body Stuff. And I mentioned multiplexing. They were talking about a bunch of wires and gauges, and wires were going everywhere. And I mentioned 50 switches off of 3 wires. Later on, I said I'd do a video. So here's the video. Let me give you a brief history of how I came about this. I used to work for a department that worked on heavy fleet, and this was back in 2000. And what we did was very corrosive to electrical systems, and it attacked wiring, and we had all kinds of issues with many of our fleet. So what did the company do? The company sent us to Navistar training. Now, if anyone's familiar with trucks, they know what Navistar is. International, all those big names. Navistar multiplexing, okay? So back in 2000, I took this school, and we went. I mean, it was a long time for the school. We learned a lot, and it kind of changed the way I thought. In essence of, yeah, this might piss some people off, but this is what I think. Okay, multiplexing is good, but can be bad. Now, let me explain that. So, when I took this class, you had a switch for every operation. For instance, you can be cruising down the road, pop it in neutral, hit the starter, start will turn. So be sitting on the side of the road. Vehicle in park, engine's running already, you can hit the starter, hit engage, and grind a little bit. Other things, well, leaving stuff on, or when to know when to do certain activities, when to switch gears, when to engage the PDL. All those things are affected the way we think, the way we react to certain things. And multiplexing changes everything. Why does it change everything? Well, all right. Instead of you, the driver, thinking of, okay, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Let me weigh the pros and cons. Let me think about this. Let me use some logic. Let me use some logical thinking here, all right? Multiplexing things for you. And that's why I don't like it. I think multiplexing makes worse drivers. Why? Because people don't drive vehicles anymore. They sit down, they tune into the radio, they fall asleep, the car drives itself. People don't know how to drive anymore. The act of driving is having a car with no cup holders, a 4-speed a manual transmission, a wiper pedal that you have to pump, and work a clutch pedal, brake pedal, and accelerator pedal, all at the same time while holding your drink. That's driving. And if it was a rainy day, you had to work a few other switches. That to me is driving. Keeping the car, doing all that, keeping the car straight down the road. Nowadays, you can set your cup in a cup holder, your automatic transmission. Hell, some of these manuals nowadays, they'll go right into gear. You don't know how to work. You don't need to know how to work a clutch. Some cars, you don't even have to unload the accelerator pedal. You can just keep your foot where it is, mash the clutch pedal, and it'll automatically do its thing. And then you just slap the shifter. Nowadays, you have actuators and solenoids working clutches. You don't have a manual linkage. You don't even have a hydraulic linkage anymore. It's all done by solenoids, actuators, sensors, switches. That's multiplexing. So let's get into it. Oh, and before that, so when we went to schooling, we ran into all kinds of issues. So they had to send us to Navistar training, and we learned about multiplexing. So I'm going to share some of that information with you guys. I don't want to share it all, okay? But just to kind of dip your toes into the water and get a feel for it. I hope it's not too boring. Let's move on. What is multiplexing? Multiplexing is a shared information. It's shared amongst everything in the vehicle. All of a sudden, your vehicle is just not a vehicle anymore. It's a thinking robot. It can act for you. It can think for you. It'll make corrections for you. Here's your battery. Okay? You got your power going to your ECU, engine control unit. Then you have what's called a data, okay, a twisted pair of wires, okay? And we can get into the older style, 1708 versus the new 19 style. So setting all that aside, like the J was 2 wires, and the new 19 is 3 wires. So let's just make things simple. Here's your data. Okay, so you got this. And down here, you have your switch. Then, from your ECU, you have your controlled item. Let's just put a light bulb here, okay? Here's your light bulb, like that. And then, from the light bulb, of course, you have your ground. Notice something there? We'll get into that in a later video. The request signal is different, okay? The data link sends a digital message in a square wave, okay? Now, what is a square wave? Here's your square wave. You got your 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, okay? Here's your, look familiar? Okay? This is multiplexing. It is a data signal, okay? You change this signal. You get rid of this 0, and now you got a 1. Now you just changed this signal. That is multiplexing in a nutshell. Right here you have your time. This is your time. Okay? And this is your volts. It is a square wave. It's your binary code. So what is the most important part of this? So the most important part is obviously the ECU. Okay, without the ECU, you can't decipher what this is saying. All right? So this is your brain, okay? This is your logic. This is the data. For instance, it's a very important part of the system, is logic. Logic allows the ECU to decide if the request is valid. Now that's important, okay? It's making a decision for you. For example, Can we engage the starter while the engine's running? Simple example. Well, yes. However, with the new generation, you cannot. Okay? So this is your new generation computer, okay? You got your NGC. That look familiar? All you tuners out there, I had a Dodge Neon. I know what NGC is. That's that new generation computer. That means when you make a change, the computer acts against it and makes it run stock. Okay? New generation computer, Dodge. Others, they have next generation vehicle. Call it what you will. Let's choose NGC. Let's dive a little deeper into logic. What is logic? Logic is the act of thinking. Okay, what's logical? Okay, is this a good idea? Logic, simple word. So why logic? Why add this into an ECU? Why add that to a vehicle? Well, for instance, it'll automatically turn off the interior lights if accidentally left on. Remember that whole time? Also, it'll prevent a driver from engaging the starter on a running engine. We talked about that. And let's take another example. It's raining out. It will automatically turn on the headlights when the wipers are activated. See, that's that thinking. You no longer have to turn on the headlights. You turn on the wipers to clear the windshield, headlights come on. And this is all old information. This is back in 2000. It's 2022, okay? It is 2022, all right? You have a sensor in the dash now that'll turn on your wipers automatically, but also turn on your headlights. There is no daytime running lights anymore. That's simple relay stuff. Now you have a logic, okay? You have light sensors, you have wiper sensors, you have backup sensors, you have got bumper sensors, you got a car that thinks and acts for you. So if you have a car that thinks and acts for you, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but if you have a vehicle that acts for you, and you've all heard it, okay? The human error, okay? What is the human error? Very important. Time. Time is the human error. What takes us something to process? This ECU already thought about it 100,000 times, and it took everything into consideration. Wheel speed, transmission gear, differential speed. Are you in four-wheel drive? Are you in two-wheel drive? Does this vehicle have four-wheel drive? Stability steering. How fast is the inside tire turning compared to the outside tire? Okay? And we can get further on into this if you like. Actually, if you want to get further on into this, we can do that because I love the technical stuff. I really love the technical, and I'll talk about technical stuff all day, okay? And I'll teach every single one of you out there, okay? I'll teach you everything I know. I got to teach someone. I got no offspring. I got you two. So, your logic, your switches, time, volts. If it can think faster for you, it can react faster than a person. Save lives. Of course, it's an easier way of learning. I don't like it. I don't like it because now that we're getting more into multiplexing, you see a trend that's happening. Here's the trend. And I'm gonna cut this video short because I'm getting deep, okay? And I don't even know if YouTube or the government is gonna allow it. Here's your satellite floating out in space. Here's your car. Okay, you're cruising on down the road. You're happy-go-lucky. And they're smart how they did this, okay? They're smart how they did this. They have your engine, okay? They have your engine here. And let's just put a big old honking throttle body on this sun gun, all right? And we can get into that later about the whole wiring. And so anyways, you got this big old honking throttle body on there, right? And you stab the gas. And you smoothly take off. Why did you smoothly take off? Because the computer is smarter than you. You think that throttle body is going to go, whoa? No. It's going to go, we'll open up a little bit. We'll open up a little bit more. And since we're going, 10 miles an hour every 2 seconds or 1 second, we'll just keep it there. Meanwhile, you got that sucker stabbed. Throttle body's not opening all the way. That's that wire, okay? It's no longer a cable. You have lost the ability to control that engine. All right, let's evolve a little further. People have gotten used to drive-by wire instead of drive-by cable. Let's go further. What was the next thing that they came out with? I'm trying to think of it. All right, let's just jump ahead a little bit. I know there's something else that came, and I'll probably think about it as we progress here. Let's just move forward. Now, guess what, guys? Your steering wheel. Okay? Here's your beautiful, beautiful steering wheel, right? Yeah. Okay? You have control. You are steering that vehicle. You can pull it to the side of the road, or you can keep it straight. Still lost control of your accelerator, but you can still steer the vehicle. Now, they have electronic steering. So, again, your wires coming out of your steering goes to your ECU, your logic, the little guy that's thinking for you. And let's say you want to change lanes. Ah, that's it. That's what I forgot. That's what I forgot. So let's just continue. I know what I forgot though. So you got these two wires going to a computer, right? Great. I need to move that steering wheel fast. So what does it do? It kills the AC compressor, and it tells the power steering pump to go full on hydraulic pressure, so you can manipulate that steering wheel. And the computer also says, well, since he's turning to the right, what we have to do is we have to apply the right brakes so it'll rack the car around. Okay? Or if you turn left, you have to apply the left brakes so it'll help steer the car around. Great stuff. But what happens if the car doesn't see what you see? What happens if you need to turn that steering wheel? What happens when you're trying to, I gotta be light here, okay? Let's just say you're trying to get away from someone, okay? What happens then? Well, I'll tell you what happens. These new generation computers, guess what they have? They have a honking old memory. As soon as you start your vehicle from day one, it monitors every movement. Okay? Think about that. Now, when you have an accident, the insurance companies can pull the information from the computer, and they'll know exactly how fast you're going, where you had the steering wheel turned, if you're on the brakes, if you're on the gas, if you're a half throttle, if you're full throttle, it will tell them specific information. It'll tell you how much you clenched your butt cheeks. So, what happens when your check engine light comes on and you keep driving the vehicle? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You don't fix your vehicle, your little friend satellite here that gives you all that Sirius XM, it's going to go, eh. You're not driving today. What's it going to do when you need a full throttle and it's not giving you full throttle? Sorry, buddy. You're not going to want to do that because I don't think that's logical. Because this guy tells you, I don't want you to move. Now that you have no throttle and you have no car, it's going to tell you to pull the hell over. You just lost control of that. So now you got this thing right here, this satellite, telling the car to pull over on the side of the road. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the bumper. I wanted to get into the bumper sensors, okay, before the steering, but, you know, the bumper sensors are kind of, they're kind of self-explanatory. You're too close, you're far enough, you're getting too close, vibrate the seat, rattle your sack, ding the light, whatever it wants to do. Now, back on schedule, back. I'm off task, okay? I'm off task. I got into this and I wasn't supposed to get into this, okay? But I think it needs to be said. So let's get more into multiplexing. So you got your switch, twisted pair of wires. I want to put another switch in. Yeah, another switch. Now, if you're familiar with trucks, what have you seen in a truck? You've seen a big panel like this, right? All right, you got your two dots here. You put in your coat hanger. You move the lock out of the way. You pull the whole assembly out. You got. Let's just put 3, 4. Let's see how many I can put in here. 5. Let's get 6 in there. You got 6 switches, right? You got a twisted pair like this. You got a twisted pair like this. Very important. When dealing with multiplexing, you are no longer dealing with a power and a ground. Get rid of it. All you need is an on-off signal. Each one of these switches right here, okay? Each one of these switches changes that binary code. When this changes, your computer, your ECU, your logic, okay? Your logic says, okay, this changed, so I need to turn on the wipers, or I need to turn on the radio, or I need to turn on the power divider lock. Whatever it needs to do. This is no longer a switch. This right here is ohms, okay? You are no longer checking for power, you are checking for ohms, resistance, and every single switch in here adds up to an ohm. Your ohm will change your binary code. Your binary code changes, telling the ECU to, hey, what do we got going on? Okay, we need to do this. And all you have to do, you want to add a switch? Let's just put 4 of them in here. All you need to do is daisy chain them. Connect them. There's a connector right there. That's it. This goes to the computer. And of course, this has got to be a twisted pair. It's very important. These twisted pairs, it actually allows the data to be transferred faster. It's very important. This, it's a connector. Leave it open. You don't need to connect it. You want to connect another switch? Here you go. Here, let's put some real thin switches in it. Let's do this. They got 12 switches. That's it. That's all I got to do. Find a spot to put 12 switches. There you go. You want more switches? You want to add a box that looks like this and has your switches. There's 18 switches. What do? What do? You do this. That's it. You want to add more? Connect it. As long as you have a spot for switches, you can keep adding. And all the while, you got 2 wires. 2 wires. That's it. It's simple. Now, I will get into something else. No, I'll save it for the next video. Next video, guys.